Yeah. Yeah. I know they mad for no reason. I'm holding on to change my life. Gotta move fast for a reason. I'm holding on to change my life. Huddling, I'm staring at charts until I retire. Yeah. Huddling, I'm staring at charts until I retire. Oh, 700K, I'm selling a Bitcoin. Haters mad, but they listen to this one. More profit coming to my direction. Yeah, you know me, I don't need a mention. I got the remedy, ooh, yeah. They don't just follow me, ooh, yeah. You say allegedly, ooh, yeah. You would subscribe to me, ooh, yeah. Staring at chart, drawing a line. Make a decision, you out of time. Huddling, I'm staring at charts until I retire. Yeah. Huddling, I'm staring at charts until I retire. Yeah. See on stage. OnChain Revolution. Guns. Phone.
Welcome back to On-Chain Revolution. My name is Shizzy. On this channel, we cover the entire crypto ecosystem. What's up, guys? We have an okay show for you guys today, or should I say a gold show for you guys today. So I guess welcome back to Gold Revolution. My name is Shizzy. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so what can I say about last night? So last night we saw a dip Bitcoin from 107, 108 down to like the low 104s, and then this morning the Donald comes out and he says, you know what? We're not in a tariff war. I don't know where you guys got that from. Well, maybe from the other day when you said that we were in a tariff war or a trade war. So he's coming out and basically he helped the TradFi markets. They dipped as well, but now they kind of battled back here. But they are dipping again, it looks like. So my whole board is red. I mean, red. Bitcoin down 2.7, Ethereum down 3.6. Then you got Tau down 3.14. XRP down 2.8. It's just a bloodbath. Aster down 15%. Absolutely crazy. Back down to $1. I don't even know what to say. You see lines in Vietnam and Japan and Australia to buy gold? Should we just like sell all our stuff and buy gold? No, it's not. This is the top, guys. This is the top for gold. If you've been in crypto, you know what a top feels like. And if you're not seeing it with gold right now, it's ridiculous, right? It's people are gold was $3,300 last month. I mean, we're talking potentially multiple trillions of dollars just went into gold over the last like 2 weeks. So I'm not worried. Crypto is where to be. Bitcoin is something that is a better version of gold. It's just going to take a lot of time for people to wake up and realize that. And then you have Ethereum, which is digital oil. And then if you go down the line, Tau, Agent Hustle, AI protocols that are going to be here and really change the way we do things. So really excited. In an hour from now, we got the great Jake Gallen joining us, so that's going to be fun. We're going to talk hustle, migrate fun, and so much more. So stay tuned for that. But first, let's get into today's show. Bring in my partner here, as always, Mr. Yagobi. What's up, buddy?
What's up?
All right, man. You ready for the gold revolution, or what's going on?
I would not love to do that show if that was like, hey guys, the gold bars are hot. Let's look, jewelry's a sector. We could look. I mean, at the end of the day, gold has been proven, over and over through almost I wouldn't say entire existence of man, but like a very, very long time in history, right? So, there's many things that's happening right now, in my opinion, with gold. But the main thing I think is people want to be in risk on. They're scared to, just be in dollars. The dollar is weakening, and they don't want to be in any fiat really, because there's none that are really strong. And they want to be in risk on, but they feel like the uncertainty is keeping them away from a little bit of the higher risk areas, and that's Web3. So they're clinging to gold, right? So that's what it seems to be the case. And we'll talk a little bit about what gold has done and what maybe that means for, the near future of our space, or maybe a little bit midterm future of our space.
Yeah, well, let's jump right into that. So the one asset that could ignite the next crypto boom, don't miss this rotational signal. So, what do you get from this title today?
What I get from it is going over what gold has done, right? If you look over the past, let's see, starting about 2.5 months ago, in August, it was sideways all the way from April to like mid August, a little bit past that, and then you just see that huge run up that's happened, right? And that gain is supposedly around 1% of the total market cap of gold. And if you look at 1% of the total market cap of gold as of today, that makes it about $3 trillion, which is close to the total market cap of Web3. So the point that I'm making, and I've heard a couple people, pundits talk about this, saying that, look, the reason why people are going to gold is exactly how in the intro of the show I mentioned they want to be in risk on, but this is their risk on right now, just a safe risk on, I guess you could say. But once the uncertainty starts to flatten out and it's more stable for the economy and the world, you'll see that start to flow out of there. And if 1%, right, has gone up, imagine getting a half of that to roll into, maybe a quarter of that to roll into our space, which would be a major impact, right? So if you're looking at like 25% of 3 trillion, you're looking at probably like 750 billion, which would be huge, I think, for the Web3 space, right?
Yeah.
And so obviously I'm just speculating on that percentage. So that is what I mean, or we mean, I think, kind of with this title, is that you can monitor what's happening in today. This is the first day in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days. It's the sixth day, and on the sixth day, it was the first one that's red in 6 days so far. So we'll see how we finish, but it looks pretty red for gold today.
Yeah, 100%. And then officially, gold is the first $30 trillion asset. There's never been a 30 trillion. There's never really been a $20 trillion, $10 trillion asset either. Gold is just far high of everything else, right? It's its own category. I do feel like Bitcoin will get to 30 trillion one day. You know what I mean? So it's going to take time. It's going to take lots of time, but I do think in the next 10, 20 years, 30 years, we should see Bitcoin get to this. How high is gold at that point? Who knows? Who really knows? But yeah, so you see Nvidia, Microsoft, Apple, Alphabet, and now silver has overtaken Bitcoin as well. Silver is up a ton as well. So silver was like $25 to begin the year, and it's at 53 right now. These two assets have never had gains like this ever. I mean, ever in the course of history, which makes me kind of think that we are seeing a top here, especially when you see things like this. So this is Japan, and this is Australia, right? And then you have places like Vietnam. These are all lines for people to buy gold. These are lines for people to buy gold.
It's crazy.
Like, that is insane to me. Like, we've never seen this in history. More people in line to buy gold. Yeah, I don't. This has to be a top, right? I mean, we got to be seeing. So I think the people who bought gold at the beginning of the year, they're selling here, right? They're DCing out as all these people come in and they're buying. Who knows? Maybe an ounce of gold, maybe a half ounce of gold, whatever. But I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah, well, again, I feel like gold has been proven over like a long history of our existence, and so it's kind of like when in doubt, almost going to gold is the mentality of the history of humans to place their value in, and that's what we're seeing, right? And you're right. The people that got in, I mean, you could go back to December 19th of 2024, and that was the first real big run up that happened, and it flat started to go sideways in May of this year. But from May to August, that was sideways, and then now it's the second leg of that. So I right now I agree with you. I think that we are hitting this top area with gold, right? Does that mean kind of what I said, and all of a sudden Bitcoin is going to get hyper aggressive right away? Not exactly, but if we start to see it get, I think, aggressive to the downside a bit, maybe we'll probably, because that means that people are looking to put some liquidity somewhere else, right? That's the thing. You have to remember, like an asset, especially like gold, that's like a safe haven for most people. But for the big players, they're always trying to look for another opportunity that is as safe as possible. But if gold runs out and it's kind of a top, and when I say runs out, I mean like locally runs out, like in terms of not run out in supply, but the top, right? They're going to look for something else that they feel is pretty safe. And I think a lot of people feel pretty good about Bitcoin, right? Some of those larger investors, we've seen it with the ETFs and stuff. So that's what makes me feel like that's going to happen. But when it happens, it's gonna be tough to call, right? So also today's the I think we need to see multiple days in a row and, start to see that downward trend a little bit. We haven't seen anything really like that. And you can go back to that August date in the middle of August. I think we had one back-to-back 2-day red candles. That's it. Which is absolutely nuts, by the way. It's absolutely crazy. So if we get, 2 back-to-back, I think that should put your antennas up right away. So if we get a red day today, and it's, interesting about Saturday. I don't really know how gold trades on Saturdays. I know how, crypto does, but gold, if we get a red day tomorrow, then you're kind of like, okay, what's Sunday? What's going to happen Sunday? Is this going to be like a 2-day kind of situation and that's it? So it's something I'm paying close attention to because I do feel like, the rotation would, I think, naturally go to Bitcoin. You can see the charts to where they're very closely correlated, except for the last, since August, which is, in my opinion, maybe it is a part of this big run up to gold too. It's like everybody's going into there from other assets as well, and then maybe now, as it comes down a bit, Bitcoin catches up. So,
yeah, 100%. And like gold and bonds have always been considered risk off. Right, people go into gold and bonds when when the stock market is overheated. And we are seeing the stock market be a little bit on the toppy side, but now for the first time ever, gold seems to be trading like Nvidia. Gold seems to be trading like a tech stock. Or are people like? Why do you think people are getting in the gold? Is it because they're worried about today's currencies? Are they worried about the same reason why people get into Bitcoin, or is it another reason? Do you think?
I think it's worried about currencies and also the uncertainty of the U.S. markets right now, right? Because of stuff like the tweets and stuff, right? So I think both of those go hand in hand into what. But again, this was going back to August though. So in August, I think we were still doing okay handling some one-off tariff tweet that he would put out that we would be able to maybe for that day Bitcoin dumps down $4,000 or $6,000, but then we get over it that day and then move on, and Bitcoin hits a new all-time high in like 5 days, right? So I don't think it's necessarily just from last Friday, or it feels that way because gold has been going parabolic, but it's been really ramping up since August 19th, and we've had some really good days with Bitcoin and Ethereum since August 19th, a couple, right? September wasn't very amazing, but there was a couple days we hit we hit 124, 125, which is crazy. But we haven't had the rest of the space. And maybe this is something, gold selling down aggressively a bit could maybe help the rest of the space too. So it's just something that we got to learn how this experience is going to work. And the first thing we can do is really just monitor gold and see how aggressive the sell-off is going to happen, if it's going to happen right now, because eventually it will. Because I'm in the same boat as you. I do believe we're very toppy. I mean, you're like, there's indicators in our space too. When you see multiple meme coins being named gold coin, or Chinese gold coin, or this and that, right? That means that the narrative is probably starting to get exhausted whenever it's gotten to meme coin launch pads, right? So that's something I'm looking at. And during price action, I'm actually going to go over the gold chart just briefly, to kind of show what the indicators are saying as well with that, because I am correlating it with probably some relief rallies that we will get. And I do think that the people that are calling bull market over and stuff like that, remember them, because I think you're going to probably see some interesting habits or posting habits that they have, and maybe win-loss column stuff.
Yeah, no, 100%. And the same people who were bullish last week are the same people that are bearish this week. Like James Wynn, he went long with 200K like 3 days ago, and today he's like, it's over, it's all over. Like
after he loses big, right?
After he loses, he gets super bearish, when it's the opposite. He's definitely a reverse indicator for sure. I'm gonna say it now. I think 104 is the bottom. Remember yesterday I was showing you kind of like, we need to hit a certain range area, and that range was between like 100 and 104. I think 104 is the bottom here. I honestly do. I think that you're going to see a weekend of Bitcoin upward momentum, because what normally happens though is Bitcoin goes into a weekend with upward momentum, the weekend kind of shatters that. So the opposite normally happens for when it goes into the weekend with on bearish momentum. You're going to get, you know, that crisscross of people just trying to make money in low liquidity markets, and that's what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm actually expecting tomorrow to be very green for crypto. Sunday morning, maybe we get some red up until later in the afternoon and kind of push up that way. And that's just from my like sentiment. This isn't like me looking at charts or anything. I'm just pretty sure that we're going to see a green week next week, because you just can't see another red week. It's just not, in my opinion, everything has just been so beaten up. The alts have been destroyed. I mean, we're seeing dog down at 150 million. I mean, absolutely insane.
Yeah, it is pretty insane. And we'll see more of that during the bloody crypto bubbles segment.
Rita says, I don't think gold trades on Saturday.
Okay.
It does, because you can go to Costco and you can buy gold. You know, you can go to, if you look at all these people, they're not worried about gold not trading. I mean, look at this. They're not worried about, you know, gold not trading.
But are those retail buyers affecting the price? Probably not so much. You know what I mean?
I think so, because you can what they do is like, so the value of gold is only what people are able to buy it from, right? So if you go to a store and they're like, hey, we're selling for 4,400 today, you can either buy at 4,400 or you can go home.
Well, that's true. That's true. I mean, you know, these global, you know, retailers and stuff that are selling bars of gold or ounces of gold or whatever, you know, obviously, you know, people are going to, I'm sure there's some sort of like numbers to report for, you know, how many ounces of gold you sold and, you know, what's your total sales in gold, which I don't want to get my brain into that, because I feel like that would just exhaust me thinking about like how they report that. But don't think that gold is not manipulated as well. Like, you know, yes, it is considered one of the safer assets in society, but once it gets on that digital kind of platform, you know, there's manipulation that can be happening for sure. That is happening, I'm sure, with whales and all types of stuff. Push the gold price up. Now, there's one thing I think that, you know, with gold or Bitcoin or any asset like that, you can't really manipulate, and that's overwhelming demand, right? So when you have overwhelming demand and it goes up, then that's just a result of the overwhelming demand.
Yeah, 100%. All right, let's get away from gold. We got one more. We got to talk about gold for one more second. I apologize. So, there is some assets that are doing good right now, and those assets are stable coins and gold. So if you look at the coin market cap, all you see is Pax Gold, Tether Gold, and then you see stable coins, right? So stable coins are the only thing green today over the last 24 hours, and gold. So I definitely want to bring that up. So you can buy gold as well through Pax Gold. This is the same company that does PYUSD, who actually mints that. So you can definitely go to OKX now and you can buy gold. And people are saying that's a big reason why gold is running right now, is because you can go to OKX and OKX has to do the counter trade and get, obviously get more in there. So that's another reason why gold is running, because now there's a lot of liquidity on chain. I mean, we're talking about, $2-3 billion, very similar to the same, the same value of Tau, right? So there's a lot of liquidity right now.
So I think probably don't see too much of an effect. That's just my personal opinion because of the total market cap that we have right now. But if this becomes more popular, for sure, and we do have a comment from Adopted by Bitcoin. Wow, adopted by Satoshi himself. He says OTC gold doesn't affect price. Okay. And then Mice Elf comes in and says, I can see the top for Bitcoin happening soon. No, myself, not you, E2 Brute. It says, he also says, but when it comes to altcoins, I want to see the ISM PMI above 55 before I even consider selling my altcoin bags. And hopefully that's not the case. So
you're a little bit wrong though on the OKX part, because let's just say there's a liquidity pool, right? And that liquidity pool is, some people come in and keep buying the gold. You're going to see it trading at a huge upward side, to where you're going to see a lot of people try to come in and arbitrage that, right? So it does affect it in the sense of on chain, because if these are running, I mean, you're seeing this at $4,400. There's arbitrage now with the stock market, so you won't see no arbitrage that day, but you can push gold up on chain as high as you want to.
Yeah. But my point that I'm making is that, I don't think that has come into effect yet. I think that is a mechanism that could trigger for sure. Yeah. And because especially these huge whales see this opportunity for number go up for their pockets, right? And they're just like, oh, okay, so we can manipulate this way, or we can do it that way. That is something that I agree, like it can get there. And maybe that's what they're trying to set it up for, because that to me is a smart way to bring liquidity into our space, actually.
Yeah, yeah. And obviously there's paper gold that the big boys trade, right? And that's kind of what everyone says is the real price. But at the end of the day, gold kind of trades like an NFT, right? It's buyer to buyer, really, right? You can't really dump it in the market, but until it's on like a liquidity pool.
Yeah.
All right. President Trump says he's meeting with the Z in 2 weeks. Current U.S. tariffs on U.S. are not sustainable. So he said like the 100% on China is not sustainable, and he's hoping to clear that up in 2 weeks. So it's almost like someone woke him out of bed and said, "Sir, the stock market and crypto is crashing," and he just like pushes his hair to the side and runs out to a reporter and says, "Hey, I'm meeting with Xi in 2 weeks." It seems very out of nowhere this morning. I mean, I saw this at 7 o'clock in the morning, so it probably happened at like 6 a.m. Like, I don't know what time this man wakes up in the morning, but he was trying to like, because the stock market was crashing worse than crypto. It bounced back very quickly after this. Crypto did not. So that's a kind of a big reason why, we're kind of sustainable. Isn't it crazy though? This man can control markets. These markets are so emotional that like he can sneeze and accidentally say China, and we can just dump.
Yeah, I mean, it is pretty crazy. And I think what's going to happen is you're starting to see some people catch on to it a little bit and say, look, he obviously is having this habitual pattern of allowing the markets to run for like 2 months and then coming in and just demolishing the markets, and then letting them ramp up again for 2 months, and then coming in and demolishing the markets, right? So I mean, seriously though, like, and I think some traders are really starting to catch on to it, the smart people, right? But the problem is with that is, if he does bring, I guess like certainty back, like cuts back uncertainty and make it more stable and economic level. And you got people that are in the mindset of like, buying and holding for a month and a half and then selling, and buying and holding a month and a half for selling. And the market kind of goes back to like holding for like 3-4 months or 5 months. Right. So I think a lot of people want that market to be like, hey, look, I don't want to have to stress all the time about my investment. I want to be smart. I feel like I'm smart. I mean, because that's what happened before, right? With the regular markets, is you feel like you're smart because you did your research and you invested in smart companies and that do, good revenue and all these things. But, even that's hard, except for like the top 10 market caps, right? So the opportunity part is what's missing, because a lot of people want to try to get some of these startup companies or these up and coming companies that might be undervalued. That's where the opportunity's gone away.
Yeah, no, 100%. I agree. And it really sucks. Like it's not, like I feel like even with with the auto pen guy, I feel like, I feel like we can go like months without hearing from him, which was like really good for the markets.
Well, that was a different reason why we weren't hearing from him, though.
But I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like I hate hearing his name every like 19 hours, right? Like, I don't know. We'll see. So this is really interesting. So Tom Lee, and he was on a podcast yesterday, and I kind of want to play it here. Let me actually get the volume ready for you guys.
Video.
So it's like grade school with the videos here, but it did the pump one did really good yesterday, so I kind of want to play this one too. Let me make sure my volume is up here, and let's play it.
If we go back to 1971, when the dollar became synthetic, because that was the year the dollar and it was no longer convertible into gold, so it became a truly synthetic instrument. Okay, then we can look at how the world forked. The first was gold, and people bought gold, and gold performed well and became today a $21 trillion asset class. But the second thing that happened was that the question became, if dollar is synthetic, do we have to use dollars? Can we use Deutsche marks or francs or yen or pounds, right? The pound could have come back. But Wall Street stepped in and said, let's innovate and create US products to make sure people use dollars. And the dollar became hugely successful. It's only 27% of GDP, but it's 53% of central bank reserves, and it's 84% of all financial market quoted pair trades. Okay, so the real play when the dollar became synthetic was Wall Street created a 100+ trillion dollar market for dollar assets. So looking back, Wall Street was the big play in 1971, not gold, because gold is capped at 20 trillion. As we think about 2025, and now we're tokenizing not just dollars, but stocks and real estate and bonds, people may correctly say, I want to own digital gold, but gold's a $21 trillion market. The tokenization of everything else, as Kathy Woods has pointed out, is in the quadrillions, you know, especially as AI moves towards micropayments, which need to happen on the blockchain. That to me is a bigger opportunity. And that's why in Ethereum is where a lot of this is going to be built.
So
if we go back to 1971,
he was basically saying here that, you know, he feels like it's basically feels like that the dollar is basically in a bubble, and or gold's in a bubble, right? When the dollar decoupled from gold in 1971, everyone thought that gold was the winner.
Yeah. This I heard that in another place as well, and exact same breakdown basically, and which it did perform pretty well. So people made money on it because it was, again, that safe haven that people clawed to initially, because Wall Street at that point, maybe they were cooking, you know, they were trying to say, look, in the U.S. government and the intelligence agencies, because, you know, don't get it twisted, the intelligence agencies are highly involved with almost everything. You know, came up with the kind of, hey, look, the U.S. consumer market is where it's at, and let's do that. So when I hear that, I feel like our industry, and I don't know who's going to do it, but like, you know, I'm sure there's already kind of happening, but we got to create that type of demand through, you know, services, products, and stuff like that for these digital assets. Though the difference is there isn't one currency that you can kind of pin and say, okay, you're successful, except for Bitcoin, right? And that's why I've always felt like the Bitcoin ecosystem has this potential to really explode, but it's like the one thing holding it back is obviously the limitations of the tech stack, right? And so, you know, because I do think that there needs to be a leading crypto that has a lot of these things flow through, and then, you know, some of these other winners can benefit as well. But like, you know, but yeah, I think that's where we're at. We're at this kind of area to where, again, we're visiting this kind of 1971 moment, you know, to where everybody's clinging onto gold because that's the obvious choice. But what's really going to be the super winner out of this? Because I do agree with Tom Lee. Well, I don't know if he was insinuating that, but like, I think that there's going to be a super winner out of this, whether it's Bitcoin or what, you know, pretty much Bitcoin is my, you know.
Well, he's saying Ethereum, right? That's what he said at the end of that.
He says Ethereum. Obviously, he's a spokesperson for Ethereum. I think it'll benefit both, but I do think there's going to be a leading one. Maybe Bitcoin will just be that, you know, constant, like, you know, just a store value of number one market cap over here. But maybe he's starting to think that Ethereum can pass Bitcoin's market cap. I don't know. But at the end of the day, something needs to create that demand of services and products that will prop up, and what he basically saying is tokenizing everything. You know, Kathy Lee, I always take everything she says with a grain of salt, because I feel like she's hit a couple home runs but struck out tons of times. But Tom Lee, I definitely think that he's onto something with that.
Yeah, 100%. You know, his point of view is that, you know, Bitcoin is like, you know, is basically gold, and Ethereum is very similar to like tech stocks, right? And so he's thinking Ethereum is actually going to be the biggest winner, not Bitcoin. And you know, when you say like Bitcoin, like Bitcoin's economy and stuff like that, then it's just kind of like you know, Bitcoin's very similar, like the ordinal stuff, like in runes stuff. That's like jewelry. Jewelry is such a small aspect of the economy. When you know, you have Ethereum that's actually potentially oil, right? For especially because you need it for all these chains, all these L2s and stuff like that. But let's jump into the next thing he says here.
Yeah, so I think Bitmine and obviously Strategy have been able to buck the trend that a lot of other digital asset treasury companies have suffered in terms of their price, especially relative to the net asset value of the holdings that they have. But do you worry that a broader bubble in the DAT space could negatively impact Bitmine if you see that bubble burst at all?
Oh, that's a great question. Maybe in some measurement ways, the bubble has burst anyways, don't you? I mean, if I don't have the numbers in front of me, but my guess is 80% of the DATs are trading below net asset value now. So if that's not already a bubble burst in the sense that how would that bubble burst? Because like a crypto treasury shouldn't trade below NAV unless it was captively held crypto. Because if you're a crypto treasury and you're trading below NAV, you can take action to restore your valuation. You can convert to an ETF. You could return all the crypto, so sell it and return cash, and people would come out ahead. So I think that I'm not even sure I want to use the word bubble burst, but I would say, is the market becoming discerning? I think it already has.
So what do you think about that? Him basically saying that he is a guy who actually, he actually stopped it. He is a guy who actually came in and bought over the weekend when everything was blowing up, and Bitmine is down 60% from the top in August, and he's basically sitting here saying, hey, that most DATs are dead. They're trading below NAV.
Oh, he didn't say dead, but he said it's starting to get underwater. Yeah. But either that man does like yoga every 5 minutes and he's able to be calm as can be, or I'm very, very confident in the future, because like he did not show one sign of anxiety or anything about that topic, and he's one of the largest DATs. So maybe he's saying, look, yeah, sure, some of these ones that maybe didn't execute properly or prepare properly, they're starting to be underwater. 80% are under NAV, which is the first sign of not good, right? But the ones that have value, I might go and buy them up. Sailor might go and buy them up, or whoever, right? Or you can, they have options. They can convert into ETF, or I think the worst case scenario would be if they all sold off their crypto at the same time, because then a lot of those, a lot of them are like Ethereum and Bitcoin. I think there's a couple that are a little bit more riskier assets. I think Sui might have one that's small or something like that. But my point is that he didn't seem bothered one bit by that, talking about that. And to me, I think that shows that he's very confident in his position, which to me, if the market was going to explode and a big bubble was going to pop, he would be strategizing for Bitmine's position as well.
Yeah, but he's not. They're far above NAV.
Yeah.
He has nothing to really fear right now. He's actually probably thinking, hey, if SharpLink trades under NAV, I can go and
absorb
purchase
them,
all the ETH for, let's just say, 10% discount, and then so I purchase all the ETH, and then I could sell the actual gaming company out there, because I what I did is I came in and I bought the ETH at 10% discount because it's trading under MNAV. So I get all the ETH, I take all the ETH for my company, and now I can sell the gaming company for whatever that's worth, and then I made out like a bandit. That's basically what I think his mindset is here. He wants these to kind of fail so he can come in and not only get the ETH for 10% cheaper, but also sell the underlying business.
It kind of reminds me of whenever those huge fund managing companies, or just fund companies in general, they would short companies, but then to the point to where they make money if they fail. Like Red Lobster was getting annihilated, but that's not healthy necessarily, right? Because you have people that maybe were investing in Red Lobster or whatever, or jobs and all these things, and so I don't know if it goes down that road. If it does, then it's gonna be interesting to see how that plays out. But what I was trying to say is that from his perspective, he's trading above NAV, sure, but if the entire sector has this huge bubble pop, you would think that like it would affect even the people that are at the top at some point, right? Because then like there's a huge market fallout, and he doesn't believe that, obviously. He thinks that like maybe some of these companies that they just got in over their heads, they didn't execute properly, they didn't plan it right, but it's not going to create a complete market collapse to where he is going to be underwater. And to me, I think that's a good sign.
Yeah, but also you have to remember too, he was one of the first people to come in and buy ETH, right? He was buying ETH at 2,200. So if ETH's sitting at 3,800, he's still, he can sell right now.
SharpLink was early too.
Yeah, SharpLink was really early too. But SharpLink's one of the few that are trading above, right? So I'm thinking in my head, it's just like there's only like 4 or 5 that are actually still trading above. Obviously MicroStrategy, obviously BitMine, obviously SharpLink, and there's a few others. But then there's like 7 or 8 that are trading under. Far under, right? Meaning, they got the Japanese MicroStrategy, and which is MetaPlanet, and all these other ones as well. So, all right, let's move along. VirtualBacon put out this, and I'm really curious to kind of get your opinion on this. So he's basically saying that, hey, 2021, this is altcoins, right? 2021 was the top here, and then we've been coming down. He's kind of thinking that we're still in depression area, and we have some time to come out before we kind of restart the cycle here and get back into hope. He's kind of saying, let me actually read you exactly what he said. Here's the chart of the altcoin market cap, excluding ETH and stables, divided by Bitcoin market cap, aka CT's alts are doing. Feels like depression, both in performance and sentiment. Unsure whether we'll get a big bull run, but surely a bad time to believe in crypto, in my opinion. So he's basically saying, hey, crypto hasn't even had their disbelief yet. We haven't even had our hope yet for anything here. It's only been Bitcoin, ETH, and stables.
Yeah, well, it's crazy for the alt market. I think he's absolutely right. For the entire crypto space, I think we went through like a cycle of this already with Bitcoin and Ethereum. Well, Ethereum, not necessarily. Like, yes, there was a good run between April and in September, beginning of September, but alt markets for sure. It's like we never got that, rise up, right? So it's almost kind of like we went through this entire cycle for Bitcoin, and altcoins just were like, we're only going to partake in the non-euphoria parts of this. You know what I'm saying? So like everything that is like below that middle part that goes to all-time high right there, we're going to chill in that middle area. So it hasn't, in a sense, so we're on our second round of depression and disbelief because we got it with Bitcoin, but with alts, we got it as well. We just never got the rise up.
We never got anything else. We've been down. If you go back to, depression. I mean, you had the Trump pump. That's really it, right? It's like this right here is the only relief we've had. And before that, though, we've had this double top over here, right? So we really didn't even get a real relief. We haven't seen anything like we've seen in the past, right? In the past 5 years. Right. So it's just been shit. It's just been there's been nothing here. We haven't had, Bitcoin and Ethereum. If you take them out, they have ETFs, they have TradFi, they are, elite assets at this point. But everything else, including XRP, including Hype, including everything, nothing really has had any type of upward momentum. And you see this big wick here. Well, that's Friday's wick.
There's a group of about 3 to 5 tokens that have experienced that at different moments. You had Solana at the end of last year. It hit its all-time high. You had XRP earlier this year hit its all-time high. And then you had
but I'm talking about,
I'm not sure if it's all-time high.
There's tokens that are down 90% still.
We haven't seen the traditional everybody let's go together type of situation. We haven't really seen that, and that's the kind of thing that we've been looking for in this market. And then you just get the one-offs that, and it's almost kind of like those groups kind of have to manufacture that too, because whenever Solana had its run up, it was the beginning, like when Pump Fund really started cranking up. Dog Whiff was hot last Q4 of last year. All these things. Then you had XRP, which XRP was just like a pent up demand that was just waiting to kind of break out. The poor XRP community people, they've been holding that thing since like 20 cents or whatever. And then you have BNB, which they went in and kind of took the brains of their, created the path to their success almost, I feel like, right? Getting to 1300. So in that aspect, you're right. Like we haven't seen a cumulative, alt market together. And that's what happens in a true bull market. We saw in 2017, they all ran together, like Litecoin, Ethereum, all of them, they ran together. In 2021, same thing, they ran together. We just really haven't seen that.
Yeah. Not even a little bit, right? You are right. So we've seen like BNB pop up, to that like $1,300 new all-time high, but we're seeing other assets like Polkadot being $3. So like I'm just kind of taking the median of everything, and we haven't seen anything anywhere near what we've seen even early, right? Even the early days, we haven't even seen anything like this. I feel like we haven't even seen this yet, like any upward movement. It's kind of ridiculous how everything, it's almost like we have to be nearing a bottom at this point. We have to, like, there's no other excuse. Like either that or we're in a dead sector of the world that very similar to, it's just, there's just nothing.
But it's not a dead sector, because there's like, these headlines of these corporations doing this and that. And then, like I mentioned to you before, like I'll have a friend of friends or acquaintances that'll be asking questions about, hey, look, I know that the US is getting big into crypto and stuff, like where can I learn and all these things. So there's people that realize what's happening, but us, the ones that are like in the muck every day, we're the ones that are kind of like, like this has been really depressing. You know what I mean? So that, I guess the only silver lining is looking at that chart, because like when you get depressed like that, eventually comes disbelief, and then eventually, yay, hopefully let's all go to the party together.
100%. And if that chart is right, I mean, it could be, we could see an entire year of bullishness next year. Like honestly, I mean,
Pent up demand.
We can go to next November and just be a year late, right? I mean, it's definitely possible. What that would do too, that would shake everything out. Everyone would be so confused if the only outlier was we're just a year too early. Everyone's prepared a year too early than what it was. So, and that would be considered a super cycle too. Let's just say we have this insane year next year, and then we have an okay year in 2028, and then boom, that's the halving. And then we have another huge year. Let's just say the halving year. Let's say next cycle is left translated. This cycle is right translated. Next year is left translated. That's basically a super cycle. And then we go into a norm. Maybe we get back to normal after that.
Absolutely. Oh, Mr. Sheedy in the house. What is up, Mr. Sheedy? And OG for sure from our community says there has been no banana zone like last lap. Yeah. What happened to what's his name? Paulo, whatever, the guy, the banana zone guy.
I don't know.
You remember the banana zone guy? He's from Brazil, but he's like Paulo.
Raul Paul.
Raul Paul.
Yeah.
Raul Paul. I couldn't remember his name, but he always talked about the banana zone for all the beginning of the summer, right? So
yep, 100%. And we haven't gotten anywhere near any type of zone. I mean, it's just been depressingly down 100%. All right, let's get into something else that's really depressing, which is the crypto fear and greed. So last week we're at a 54. Obviously, we're one day after the all-time high, which is crazy to think about. Last Friday, we were one day like since the all-time high. And yesterday, we were at 32, which is extreme fear. We are even further down in fear. Where do you think we're at?
29?
Pretty much. 28 right there. Man, this is terrible. If I would have told you, hey, October 17th, we're going to be at 28 crypto fear and greed, you would have been like, no way. I would
have called you a lie.
Yeah, seriously. Ugh. Yep. All right, let's get into the Bitcoin price action and crypto bubbles, brought to you guys by Artura.finance. Artura, they just finished their competition. If you did make the top 5, congratulations. So if all you had to do was come over and just do a few trades, I think the number one spot did like $300 in P&L. Like that's how serious it was, easy it was for you to potentially $456. This guy won $5,000. All he did was make $500 and he made $5,000. So he made $5,400 there. And the second place guy, he's getting like $250. Did about 47. He worked for his bags here. Then you have 3, 4, and 5. Barely 100. All you had to do is make $100, and you basically going to get like $500. So, congratulations to everyone who made this list. Artura, they're going to be doing some big things in the future. They're going to be, right now they're on Botonics, the Spider Chain, the Bitcoin L2, but they're going to be doing some really cool stuff in some other places. So definitely be paying attention to them. They might not be staying as a Bitcoin L2 product, but actually expanding and becoming a lot bigger. So you might want to stay tuned for what they're building there. And remember, they have the ARA token, and it is on Airdrop and on Coinbase app as well. So you can now buy Artura to the Coinbase app. So definitely check out everything Artura.finance is building.
Absolutely excited for those teams and that big announcement that's coming up. Make sure you're following them on X to catch that announcement. And next Tuesday, 2 p.m. Eastern is the Trader's Edge. We help co-host that show for Artura. But before we get into some Bitcoin price action, which looks okay here, so we're gonna get into that in a second. Help us out on the YouTube side. Smash that like for us. Subscribe to the channel. Turn your notifications on, all that great stuff, so you know when we go live. On the X side, let's share the space. Get as many people in here to educate and onboard as many people to crypto and the entire ecosystem. Same thing with Kick, Twitch, Rumble, and Spotify. But let's take a look here at some Bitcoin price action. And I will say the hour chart looks pretty good. But we're going to go over that daily chart, which is what I tell you guys to kind of really pay attention to get that, I guess clarity if we are out of the muck, the mud. But taking a look here at the hour chart, the setup looks pretty good here. It looks pretty good, but again, we have had some pretty good similar situations, like it's a stare down situation, so it's not like we haven't seen this type of activity before. So be very careful here. But there's a possibility that we, maybe some people could maybe get a quick scalp in, but maybe not, because like this right here, the MACD looks like it's not very strong, not very convincing that we are ready to switch over to buy pressure. You can see that the blue fast line is touching that slow line, but it really needs a crossover for you to officially get the switch over from sell to buy pressure momentum, right? And as you can see, it wants to switch back. So just be very careful here, guys. As you can see, there's very similar kind of patterns before, and what happens on these, as you can see, is it's followed up with another leg down. So just be very, very careful there, guys. If you are looking here at the support and resistance levels, let's take a look here. All right, we'll go back to 6 a.m. today. Right there. All right, cool. Yes, where we are right here at the 106, 102, we do have support kicking in, kind of dominating this area. It's a low volume area though. So if some big sell bids come in, you could kind of push it down. But then right below that, you got the support to catch it as well. And then resistance comes in this higher volume area, and most of these higher volume areas resistance is winning the battle. So that's what I mean. So be careful, because yeah, sure, some large buy bids in this low volume and thin liquidity could push it up here, and there's not much resistance right here, but that's that could change very, very quickly. And if we do get pushed down here again, it switches back to the resistance. So I would say, personally, for me, I am just watching to observe the hour chart. It is a Friday as well, and we know Fridays are kind of unpredictable, and sometimes if they are predictable, they're more predictable to the downside. And so that is what the hour chart looks like, guys. No need to rush into anything, in my opinion. Don't feel like you need a revenge trade, because look, a lot of people got crushed last week, and I know that sucks and it hurts. And you do have skills that you've built up, and you've been practicing your trading and all these things. And sometimes you can have all the skills, and maybe you overexposed yourself to the trade and you get wrecked, and then you try to revenge trade. So that I think it's a great time to kind of just relax and learn what this next kind of activity looks like, right? So this is, like I said, possible good setup, but nothing feels great right now on the hour chart. You can see the 4 hour as well. Finally, we're getting some breakdown here of the sell pressure, but it's really going to depend on that 1 hour chart. If we can kind of break through and get some really dominant support on the 1 hour chart, and we try to bump up above 107, then we could start to see this break down further. As of right now, I'm not, I need more conviction from this. I need this, this fast line to really start to point upwards, crossing that orange line, right? So definitely something to keep your eye on right now, is to see how the 4 hour chart plays off of that 1 hour. But right now, same thing, kind of just sitting back, observing because of this bad boy right here. And this is the daily chart. And the daily chart tells me that we are not done. It says, hey, look, I know you're seeing some bounce back, which it's obvious you should. I wicked down to 103.571. So being at 106 it shouldn't be a surprise, right? But the momentum indicators are telling me that Bitcoin isn't necessarily done. So once this starts to break down, then maybe you can start saying, okay, what am I looking at here? What does the activity look like on the daily chart? Obviously, it's been pretty bloody. It's been a back-to-back down trend legs here, you can see, but we're not seeing this momentum indicator break down yet. But if it does break down, then you can say, okay, are we actually getting a breakdown or a fake up to the upside? The daily chart is going to be your best friend, in my opinion, in this situation right now. And you can even zoom out further if you want more confirmation. And look at that, the weekly gives a conviction to the daily and says, no, not yet, right? And then the one that really rounds it out is that monthly chart. So the monthly one is going to be very important here, right? Because don't pay it. I would say probably, for me at least, I would probably not even really look at the monthly right now. But the only thing I want to say about it is that this buy pressure seems like it wants to close out on the monthly, but it's not, obviously there yet. So if and when Bitcoin does turn around for Q4, this will open up a little bit and it'll give us some breathing room before the monthly closes up, in my opinion, to kind of start the year maybe in those kind of situations. But anyways, yeah, so daily, weekly, and probably that's all you needed to look at right now to really give you further conviction of where we are in the next 2 weeks and the next month. Daily, maybe the next, I would say week. So, but anyways, yeah, that's some, something to look at for Bitcoin there. Ethereum, same story here. 1 hour chart looks like a, good setup, but, definitely not pulling the trigger until I get further conviction on the larger time frames. The 4 hour looks like it's wanting to break down as well. Same situation that I talked about with Bitcoin. Daily, same situation, still ready, showing sell down. And then you can go to the weekly as well. And the weekly is showing for Ethereum that we have just started the sell pressure here. And so, yeah, that is kind of the setup there. But gold. So gold is something that I wanted to touch on too. So, this is, like I mentioned earlier from the show, we have the, daily chart showing the, one of the first red candles in a week's period, right? So if we finish red here, tomorrow is going to be very important. And the fact that it's on a Saturday, I don't know what to expect with gold, but I'm definitely going to be checking it out. And then you have obviously Sunday and 3 red candles in a row. I think, I'm really going to be starting paying attention to how Bitcoin's reacting to that as well. Does it bleed down further too? Because it, just in the short term, because it's showing that gold is, is hurting. Everything is hurting. Maybe Bitcoin pulls down a little bit at first, and then after it starts to really start a downtrend, then maybe some of that liquidity flows back into Bitcoin. But that is something to keep your eye on as well. Crypto bubbles, won't spend too much time here. Everything is red, as you can see. It's about a 97% red to 3% green here on average. And this is a pretty big average. This is one of the bigger ones I've seen. You're looking at, like, on the very low end, around 5.5%. On the, you're actually, this is more probably like 6 to like 10, right? So yeah, some stuff that is green still though. Zoro real quick, up 8.3%. Let's see what's happening here. Prove, what was I on? Oh, I was on here, the 100. Co-AI still on a rager, so it is up 10.3%. Look at some of the coins that are surviving, like doing like green, because that I feel like that's something to kind of look at and say, why are they? Because some of the reasons why could be not necessarily solid. You know, maybe they did some sort of huge partnership or something. But if there's nothing out of the norm, then maybe they're buying their token back or something like that. So that is something to keep your eye on as well. But that is the price action. I know that was a bit long-winded, but
No, it was good. It was good. It was basically saying that we're gonna see more red. So that wasn't that wasn't promising. I was kind of like, all right, give me something here. But it's all good, man. You can, you know, you got to be honest. You got to, you know, can't lie to the people, even if I want you to. I'm just kidding. But let's jump into the roll call here. Yeah. So we got we do a thing on this channel called First is First, and we take the first comment of the show and we put it on a spreadsheet. And today, congratulations, it is Webdro. Congratulations, Webdro. You actually have win number 50. Congratulations to you, big 50, bro. There's only like 365 days in a year. We probably go live about like, I don't know, like 280 of them. And Webdro has 150, so he's just he's BTC dominance right there, man. He's very, very dominant. Congratulations to you. I'm gonna put at the end when this is all over. I'm gonna put it on like a wheel and kind of see who was kind of get a good image of what was happening. But shout out to my guy Artura. He said I don't think gold trades on Saturday. He said gold is generally inverse correlated with the real yields. Yeah, that's true. But you know, with real yields being high, how is that still correlated? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
well, yeah.
It would go down, you know?
Oh,
That's the only part I don't get about
yeah.
that.
That's right. That's right. Well, there's aren't they saying that because we're going into easing
'cause
here?
yields are dropping.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's another reason why that people are rushing to gold too, because they can't make
Gotcha.
money off the bond market.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that could be it too. Webdro again. Matt Toshi is here. Hydro Sapien said, "Let's go, bros." He said, "Look, if we could just get everybody to buy dog, we could break the internet and free ourselves from all the scams. And then we could buy a huge bag of TK and finally break the chains." Yeah, I mean, 100%, man. I love Hydro Sapien. I don't feel great about runes right now, honestly. It's just one of those times where I'm gonna find.
Do you feel great about anything?
Yeah, I feel great about the AI sector. I love it. Tau, Agent Hustle, Co AI.
I know, but most things in the crypto space is hard to find like a glimmer of light. But you know, the AI, you're right, some of this stuff, but it's still they're pulling back too, right? But they have like a
barely. So Tau's down less than Bitcoin today. You know, you have Co AI that's up again, right? They're leaders in that sector. You know what I mean? But then you got Agent Hustle that's down like 20%, and there's stuff like that because stuff with like low liquidity, obviously people just dump it right as soon as because they know how the market goes and stuff like that. So, but like I just feel like what we saw on Friday when we saw everything dump and get shattered, the stuff that got bolted up the hardest were Tau, Co AI, even Agent Hustle even ran out of the depths of hell that everything is up a week from today, right? So it's one of those things where if you just watch the sectors and see what got bought back as quickly as the AI sector, is nothing. I think the AI sector is something that really everyone needs to be understanding. I think dog and runes and meme coins have a sector, but I think that's going to be like mid, right? Like I don't think that's going to be in the beginning of the altcoin bull market. And I feel like I'm going to be able to rotate from my AI coins into memes right at the right time if I can, you know, figure out that and find something new. Because it's normally what happens. It's the newer coins that run the hardest, right? Like dog could 3-4x, yeah, that's amazing. I want a 10x, right? I want a 20x, and I feel like you're going to be able to find them once dog is running. One plus at is here. ASAP Benji is here. Bitcoin is truth is here. Chips and dip, my guy. K99 says I'm done. See you guys next year. See you, K99. we'll be here. We'll be here when you get back, buddy. Vader Time is here. He says sell gold, buy Bitcoin. Spindrift said I'm bullish right now on crypto. Glance Hopper says I wonder how much patience I really have. We're going to be testing that here. We're going to be testing your patience here, especially over the course of next week. Satoshi Nakamoto is here. Yo. And then we have Mib441. He says, what's good, guys? On a good morning, Bitcoin might be dipping, but soon that Bitcoin be baked in our hands. Yeah, 100%. Not 100% sure what you said there, but I love the momentum. I love the momentum. Adopted by Bitcoin. He said, get BTC, DMT, NAT. Yeah, I'm good with the DMT stuff, but good luck. Chief Axel's here. Shout out to Chief Axel. Stan says, please, less than $1 Aster. You might get that today, Stan. Let's see where it's at right now. It did bounce back a little bit. It is back up above 109, but this thing was looking like it was about to dip, man. Adopted by Bitcoin asked Stan if he bought. Stan said yes, he bought some Aster today. And Adopted by Bitcoin says gold, 90% of supply held by big entities. It has unlimited supply. It's basically a shitcoin. Well, I mean, it's the same as a dollar, right? I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, they can print or dig up as much as they want, right?
Well,
they can just add new gold.
Well, printing is way easier. Like, you know where mines are and stuff like that. I get it, but like,
well, it's not though, because you have to find a buyer for the bonds. So it's not as easy as just like
bonds?
saying, hey. So in order for them to print money, they can't just print money, right? They have to, like, big money. Like, you can print like day-to-day payments, stuff like that. But in order for them to put us $1 trillion further in debt, they got to find buyers for that $1 trillion.
Yeah, well, they've been seeming to find a lot of buyers. You know what I mean, in our history.
Not last time.
Yeah,
I mean, they have, but the last time they tried to sell bonds into the market, they got hurt.
I mean, because they want the interest lower because they feel like it's not at the right value. But I mean, yeah, but it just seems like when you get to 37 trillion dollars in debt, you've done a lot of printing.
No, 100%. That's why I'm saying right now, I think it's actually easier just to find gold than it is to actually be able to print 3 more trillion. Like, I think it'll be easier to find $1 trillion in gold than it is to potentially find, print, then just add maybe not. I mean, that's
because
it'll be easier to find a buyer.
Yeah, people just go get the $1 trillion of
gold. But my point though is, like, you can just you can paper, like, gold's traded paper, right? So you can just say, hey, we're back in this. Don't worry, we're the U.S. You know what I mean? We think we have all this gold somewhere.
Okay, so that is a totally different story that we can do a different episode on. If
like,
we just need,
like,
I'll just say, I think we need some boots on the ground. Go to old Fort Knox and knock on the door and say, "Show me," but then they'll probably arrest me for like 30 years.
Well, and then there's a rumor that it's buried underneath the World Trade Center. It's like, where is this gold that you keep telling us that you have? But Adopted by Bitcoin again. Stan says Agent Hustle Morpho Aster H-bar. That's a good bag, bro. It's a good bag. No is here. Adopted by Bitcoin again. Stan says adopted. I am looking at Docker and Zora. Two good picks. Stan says Tau is strong. Mr. Sheedy is here. Shout out to Sheedy. Stan again. Myself, he says, the moment the government sends out stimmy checks, everyone will change their sentiment. I mean, I don't see that happening, but potentially it's going to happen. And shout out to Patty Poo and Cheedy guys cleaning it out. Appreciate every single one of you guys who makes roll call each and every day. Absolutely amazing, guys. Really appreciate you guys being a part of the show. And myself says, I always expect Bitcoin to come down to touch the 200 daily moving averages on the way up. This is the 4th time we've touched since breaking above it in January 2023. Is this something that you looked at, 200-day moving average?
No, but I am going to look at it though, because I do know that's one of myself has talked about the 200 moving average before, and it seems to be pretty consistent. So,
yep. All right. Let's move along here to our next segment. And every week we are lucky enough to have the great guys from Agent Hustle, Migrate.fun, and Emblem Vault join the show. These guys are building something truly special. If you don't know about, Emblem Vault, they've been around forever. They've been building, this interoperability of NFTs. It seems like it's very hard because you're seeing bridges all over the place. No one's doing NFTs, but these guys are doing it. And right now you can get some Bitcoin, the old Bitcoin NFTs, and actually get them on Ethereum, all because of Emblem Vault. But not only that, they have the one of the best AIs in the space. This guy will help you trade and help you in the Pump Fund and Bonk and all those launch pads that actually give you a good advice on what to do, what not to do. And basically, you can actually learn a lot from it. So it's really, really amazing. Obviously, it doesn't give financial advice. And then you have Migrate.fun. If you have a project and you want to go from, let's just say, Bonk to somewhere like Pump, they're going to be potentially going to be able to do that for you. And right now, they just finished their migration of about 15 projects, I think it is. Absolutely insane. It was beautiful to see. So without further ado, let's bring in Jake. Jake, welcome back to OnChain Revolution.
What's good, guys? How are we feeling today? It seems like the market's pretty dead, huh?
It's terrible. It's
Engagement's like falling off a cliff, and all the Kaido farmers seem to have disappeared.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're talking about gold today. Well, but it's correlated. It's related to waiting to see when people start to really sell gold off a bit, and see if that trickles down into Bitcoin in our space. Is that something that you see happening possibly?
No, not really, to be honest. I think the markets are pretty detached. I mean, the majority of crypto volume is on the stock market, right? And I think the market has shown that a lot of the ETF volume has not trickled to be on chain. So I don't expect gold to be that, unless every on-chain native is just top blasting gold at this point in time and they expect to carry it over. But I don't expect it to carry over that much, maybe a little bit.
Well, the reason why I say that is because if you look up the run up of gold from the August 19th to yesterday, you're looking at about a 1% increase from the market cap total, right? So about $3 trillion, right? Which is the total Web3 market. So let's just say that people are going to gold right now because they can't make money off of bonds. They feel like we're about to go into risk on because Powell's saying it, kind of.
Yeah.
They're hanging on to gold until Trump can have some sort of sane stability a bit, and then if we even get like 10 to 20% of that 1% that gained, then we're looking at a possibility of $500 to $750 billion of roll in to Web3. But I don't know. That's just something that maybe I'm reaching.
I like to be optimistic, but just from my experience or what I've seen so far, everything that happens off chain just generally does not make its way on chain, at least this point in time. I think we'll need better rails, and probably still a few years away before there's an easy path for stock markets and gold ETFs and index funds and money markets and stuff make their way on chain. I just think it's too much trouble, and there's too much burden to be able to do that. And for the majority of people who are trading this stuff, there's just no immediate path. So I like to be optimistic. I just don't think it. But although I think this recent downturn is more of a altcoin cascade than it is anything else. I mean, Bitcoin's down 20% from its high, 25%. And most altcoins are down, 80, 90%. So I think this is very similar to what happened in January. I think everyone really kind of forgot. Every altcoin in January of this year went from top to bottom in 30 days. This is very similar. I think this is a little bit more extended, but very similar setup. I don't think it's like over by any means, but we're definitely ready. We're definitely in need of a cool off period after the crazy DAT cycle that had happened, as well as a few other things.
Yeah, 100%. And real quick about gold, I found something really interesting. So this is gold from 2019. So in 2019, it was around $1,200, and then you're right at August 2020, it got to about $2,000. So it went up almost 50% in close to about 8-9 months, right? And then we know what happened between the top here, which is August 2020, and like almost like the bottom here, which is May, June, July of 2021. Right. So this was the alt season. This was when Bitcoin hit, $60,000 during this period. Could you see something like that happening again? I mean, I didn't realize gold had such a huge run before crypto did.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that's what Bitcoin looks like today. But from what I've been reading, right, a lot of the gold volume comes from China, right, attempting to get off the petrodollar and then use gold as the reserves for the Chinese yuan for debt settlements, because a lot of third world countries are in debt to China, so they're going to make them use that as kind of the unit of denomination of exchange to get off the dollar. I mean, if you look at, there was a chart I saw yesterday where it's like gold, China's gold reserves has gone 5x this year alone.
Wow. That was the one thing I was concerned about, was China, they're wanting to detach from the dollar, right? And they were, I think for a while, they were one of the largest bond customers, right? Yeah. And so the fact that they don't want to buy our bonds at the interest rate that we were offering, and it's almost like they're not interested in it anymore. So kind of going back to what we went over, Shizzy, on the show, there's a moment to where, you know, the U.S. in 1971 forked away from gold-backed U.S. dollar, but then we came up with the Wall Street creating those products of demand. So we need to do that for the dollar in crypto, because then, you know, if they use the stablecoin strategy, it could help altogether.
Well, that's I think that's what's happening right now. I've been listening a lot to Tom Lee recently, as he's been like the new champion of Ethereum and pinning together Wall Street and the traditional financial markets to crypto. And he has this like pretty good theory that there was 2 times in the last 100 years where the financial system went through like a complete revolution. And it was in 1930s, right after the Great Depression, and then in the 70s. And in the 70s is when we got off the gold standard. And he said that this is when the financial markets exploded, because you were able to create all these derivative markets, right? And all these different types of new financial instruments and products. And he said that the 3rd time is right now, right? And you're going to have Wall Street and the financial markets merge into crypto and be on chain. And then all these crypto primitives are slowly, you know, seeking their way into the traditional markets. Obviously, stable coins are first. Perps will probably be next, right? It's crazy to believe that perps are literally a crypto construct. It feels like that's something that Wall Street would have done. So with that in mind,
perp contracts?
No, they futures.
Yeah, futures, and they use margin. So they'll front you money, and then if it hits, then you get liquidated. But it's definitely more conservative approach, I think.
Yeah. Perps are like a complete crypto construct that Arthur Hayes at BitMEX made in 2014.
Oh wow, I didn't realize that. Oh wow.
Yeah. When I got into crypto, that was like all that was popular in 2017 was perps and getting liquidated on BitMEX because Arthur traded against his customers, but that's a story for a different day. So and the reason why I brought this up of this like complete, you know, revolution is that we're moving into a multipolar world. Right? The US is not the supreme leader anymore. You have the US, China, and Russia. Russia obviously much less. They have some soft power, but not as much hard power like the US and China do. And so using this new revolution and expediting the US dollar through stable coins is going to ensure that the US dollar stays in power. But it doesn't mean that China is going to just let that happen, right? I mean, Russia already came out and said that the US is doing this, so that the other 2 powers of the world are very aware. And I think this is why China is dumping the dollar to get into gold, because they know they're going to have to play some way, whether they're going to use gold or whether they're going to use crypto to try to expedite the Chinese yuan so that other countries use it. It seems like they're going to kind of go through these traditional routes while the US is going to go through this new financial world. And so, gold's going to continue to go as the US or as China uses gold as its unit of backing for the Chinese yuan. And then the US is going to use stable coins and crypto for that. So it should be an interesting world here in the next like decade or so.
So do you think it was bad for kind of the US and the Trump administration to show their hand so much about like how they want to be the #1 country in digital assets and all these things? Because now it's kind of like, you know, their adversaries they know where to target.
No, I think they went the right route. You obviously have to show your hand a little bit because you got to get the country involved, right? And you got to get Wall Street and these people, these participants, you know, involved in this, and to show that, you know, you're willing to deregulate certain areas so that we can expedite the innovative process to then push the power back into the US's arms. But I think what you're seeing over the last few weeks, and again, I'm not a macro expert or anything, this is just kind of me just watching the market. China's chose their lane and the US has chose their lane for the future of their financial markets over the next decade. And we're just going to have to see how it plays out. But gold, obviously, something you want to be in. And then Bitcoin, I think, is still the fastest horse. But with these over macro corrections is when you get the altcoin markets that just absolutely implode, right? That happened in January as Trump was taking presidency, or right afterwards, right? Like the inauguration was like the absolute top for a lot of these altcoins. And then in this last 8 months, a lot of altcoins came back, right? Hustle was one of those that came back and saw a new all-time high. A lot of altcoins did not see another all-time high since then, right? So we're just seeing some repositioning to then start this next narrative. I don't think it's a top. Maybe we're in a 4-year, maybe the crypto 4-year cycle still exists, but I just think the padding and the downturn of Bitcoin and Ethereum and to a degree Solana is going to have a much less impact of these like negative 80% moves. Like you see Bitcoin going from 125K to 100K is like max fear for Wall Street, right? Because that is, potentially $500 billion that is just kind of wiped out there. And altcoins puke even more. So nothing new, just a little bit of a different macro dynamic.
Yeah, 100%. How are you feeling with the rest of this Q4 though? Right. So we talked to you, we talked to Jeff, and you guys had the same type of answer when we asked you the question in our meeting. Basically, it takes time for something like Friday to kind of seep in and kind of be normalized again, right? For everything to kind of get back to normal. How long do you think that's going to be? Because that was a huge event that wiped out, probably thousands of people, and there's only probably like 3,000 or 4,000 people here, right? So in crypto at this point, we're down to the final people here. But how long do you think that's going to take to kind of get back to normal after an event like that?
Probably like December. I put this post out last weekend that I thought because of these liquid or this liquidation cascade, you have to have second and third order effects really play out. And most of it's really from leverage, right? Maybe people blew up, maybe they didn't. But, I've been through a handful of these now to understand kind of what happens. And yes, it's the largest liquidation cascade by volume, but the market is also significantly higher than it was in 2020, right? They said it was like 19 billion in margin that was liquidated, potentially higher. During the COVID crash, it was like 2 billion, but also the total crypto market cap's like 5 times higher. So it makes sense. But what I had noticed was when that cascade had happened, we were actually helping with the Chonky migration at the time. And when the Chonky migration finished, there was like $20 in volume over the first like 20 minutes, where usually it's like $5,000 to $10,000. And that's from like all these different like bots that come in and like buy and auto deploy. And what it told me was like all of these bot networks, trading networks, which is more than 50% of the volume. So I'm sorry to break the news to people if you weren't aware, but the majority of volume is bot networks of some sort. Not necessarily fake volume because it is real money, but it's people just trading with different types of algos. They were all dead. They were all liquidated. They were all turned off, right? So it's going to take weeks to months for people to reposition, to get their liquidity back, and then to decide which coins they want to turn back on and continue to trade. And I had created this chart of all these migrations of different volumes, and you can see it pretty clearly there that there's just like no on-chain networks for altcoins right now. So I think what happens here is what I'd put out in this tweet was that over the next few months, you're going to have all of these trading networks turn back on. But in the meantime, it's going to be pretty slow. But what I do see is you have a lot of major TGEs that are still going to be moving forward, which I think is the right decision. I have seen a lot of people say that they're going to look for better market conditions, but I don't think they're going to come, or you're going to launch it at the wrong time. But you have things like Monad, right? You have things like OpenSea's token, MetaMask's token, Mega ETH is doing their ICO. So I think, ICOs are going to come back really, really strong. And And over the next few months, you'll have these like major kind of TGE events. But I think outside of that, I think market's going to be rather timid until maybe December, maybe January or so. But it's going to take a few months for things to turn back on. I think that's what you're seeing with this right now with all these altcoins selling off, is that a lot of these people are just really recalibrating their portfolios to then figure out what to trade next. And now definitely a lot of these coins that don't have market makers or don't have active communities are probably dead forever.
Yeah, you're definitely seeing that. You're definitely seeing some of these coins. I mean, some of them that, the ones that were around, last cycle, some of them are at bear market lows, like Polkadot and Phantom, which is now Sonic, and a bunch of them. Like, I can't see these coins coming back. I mean, unless like there's something big, like if Gavin Wood for Polkadot puts out this jam EVM upgrade that he's talking about, or Sonic, you have Andre and his flying, whatever it is, flying tool up, right? If that stuff happens, but I just can't see without huge, building happening. I just can't see someone's coming back. And then you're talking about a lot of these meme coins that, don't have any value, like just completely just dead in the water. There's no volume in some of this stuff. And that's because you're right. There is no bots and stuff. But so you're saying that like potentially we might see a lot of these tokens just never come back.
They'll just fade into, obscurity. For the most part, which are perfect candidates for migration. So I'll just toot my own bag and say that these coins are
there you go.
Perfect for a restart, right? Because the only way, once all these bots, the trading networks kind of die off and reposition to different areas, what they look for is what's the new shiny thing, right? And when you migrate, you become the new shiny thing, right? So it's a perfect candidate in that situation. But yeah, I mean, crypto is going to start looking a lot more like traditional finance, where you see prolonged consolidation periods, which I think is fine. I mean, historically, if you look at Bitcoin makes the majority of its move generally within a 2-week time span once per year. And that happened earlier this year. And so you got to wait another 8 months or so. I think that's like what the average is before it decides to move back up. Although I have to say I did pretty much hit my 2025 guess, where I said that Bitcoin was going to consolidate between 70K and 120K until quarter four. And then it hit 125K in quarter four, right? Or almost, like a few weeks ago. So it was almost like dart on there. And I think we start in January or maybe December, January, and then that'll continue for probably 6 months with whatever the new narrative is.
I'm looking forward to your yearly outlook.
Yeah, well, that and also, I mean, I'll put a little pressure on you. Bitcoin top by the December 31st. Like, what would you say the top will be?
Or like, where will Bitcoin be on December 31st?
No, will we hit a new all-time high between now and December 31st? And what range would that look like, you think?
Be probably relatively same, be like 120K.
Wow.
125K. Yeah. I'm not like all these people were calling 200, 300K Bitcoin. I'd never ascribed to that. I always thought Bitcoin was going to be a gradual grind up to $1 million, probably over the next decade or two, however long it takes. Like, it takes significant amount of volume to move Bitcoin from 120K to 150K. That's like almost $1 trillion, right? Or $500 billion. That's a lot of money. Compared to the stock market, it's not. But the inefficiencies in crypto, it dissuades a lot of this traditional capital from moving on chain, because there's no one fast path, right? So it goes back to this conversation about the gold rotation in crypto. The only people that would be rotating are maybe advanced hedge funds and then retail traders. But the retail traders are not what's pumping China, right? What's pumping China is generally... what's pumping gold is China, different types of sovereign wealth funds, hedge funds, and I guess you'd say retirement funds in that nature. So I think we still have a little while to go to get all these inefficiencies out.
Yeah, 100%. All right, let's move over to migrate.fund. You guys have a competitor now. I guess you would say it's not a good one, but it's still, I guess, it's one out there. So what happened this week was Pasternak coin eventually became launch coin somehow. I'm not sure how that happened because you can't really change the metadata. But anyway, Pasternak coin actually went to launch coin, and now they are doing something becoming Believe, but they upped the supply 25% more, right? So instead of being a billion, now they're 1.25 billion. I'm curious your opinion on this new, I guess you could say, competitor.
Yeah, I actually did like a detailed breakdown of assessing their migration itself, and they almost copied us pretty closely outside of the supply dilution and then this potential burn mechanism. So what they did is they launched a new migration platform with their own token, with the LP already preceded on the other side. Which is exactly what we did, right? The only thing that we never would dare to do is to increase the supply. That is like the biggest no-no, especially with a company that's taken investment, right? Because not only are you screwing your investors, you're screwing over all the token holders. I applaud them for going through with the migrations, for actually more changing their mind. When we launched Migrate Fund, they were all completely against it, right? Meteora came out against migrations, Believe came out against migrations, and then literally within a month, they decided that migrations were the new big thing because maybe they were scheming this whole time. The interesting thing here, what I noticed, outside of the crazy backlash that they had got, I've never seen anything really just completely 180 on probably what their expectations were. Every single person's calling them scammers and such. I do think there's a little bit of an overreaction there, but it really shows that with migrations, it comes down to the relationship between the community and the team or the creator. We had, through our own migration, we had Project 89 migrate, and they increased their supply by 30%, and the community didn't care. They didn't bat an eye. But he also was going to reward some of the people who migrated and added different types of tokenomics and stuff. It seems like with Believe, there was already kind of about a public image because of the way that the founder portrays himself to the public, I guess, or even reacts to his community. And the one issue with increasing the supply in a migration, and the reason why we would never do that and why we always never considered it or never even recommend it, is you need people to migrate, right? Which means you need to incentivize them to do something. You are completely doing yourself
Disservice.
a disservice, yeah, if you are affecting literally every token holder by immediately decreasing their value by, it was 33% is what they increased the supply to, right? So there's
33. Oh shit.
33, yes, yeah, they did the percentage wrong. They expanded to 1.33 billion. But think about this, right? An average migration has about 60 to 70% of people participating, right? So you can either do this like 100% penalty or a small penalty, right? And you only affect the non-majority, or you increase the supply and you affect literally every single person altogether. They did both. They're doing a 100% penalty after 4 weeks, and they're increasing the supply by 33%. And so you're already impacting people's bags before they even migrate, which is obviously going to cause a fuss with everyone, right? So we never recommend that. But I do applaud them for trying. The one interesting thing that I saw here, which is I'm still kind of thinking through it, but this was a process that they had thought through for months, and you can tell because it was a trifecta build between Jupiter, Meteora, and themselves, and Believe app. And the reason why I say this is that you have Believe app is hosting the migration tool itself. They're using Meteora for a one-to-one swap bin that I had found, which was interesting. And then somehow they created their own aggregation path on Jupiter to where even if the Meteora market cap was higher than the launch coin, if you tried to sell Believe, it sold at the same price that launch coin did. And I tested this a few times where the Believe token, you could try this right now. If the Believe token's at $110 million market cap, launch coin was at 80 million. but you get a 1-to-1 migration redemption, right? So if I migrate 1,000 LaunchCoin, I'm going to get 1,000 Believe tokens. But if I sell 1,000 Believe tokens, it's not selling at $110 million market cap. It's selling at an $80 million market cap.
What?
Yeah, so they pegged the price. And I tested this a few times because I was like, wow, this is like the freest money I've ever seen. And so they're using Jupiter to do this. Somebody could easily go if you had like a few $100,000 laying around, you could basically go buy Believe, set up your own pool on Radium, and just completely bypass Jupiter and just basically arb that thing to death if you wanted to. I'm not going to do it, but it was interesting to really test that out and to see that. And that tells me that they've really thought through this, but that they were also anticipating pushback, because there's no way that you would set that there unless you were expecting LaunchCoin to basically fall off a cliff, right? So at least they thought it through. We'll see a few months from now to see how it really turns out. I do think the market overreacted a little bit, but I think with migrations, we need to figure out what a standard is, right? Like for most people who are migrating, they ask us a bunch of questions. What's the penalty? Do we dilute? Should we do this? Should we do that? We need to create something that's formal to say, hey, this is the baseline that everyone accepts for a migration path. And you can operate outside of these bounds if you want to, but the majority of people are doing it, right? We need to create the ERC 721 of migrations, the ERC 20 of migrations, right? And I think what Believe just showed us is that's one way to definitely not do it, is to basically stay away from the dilution unless you are absolutely certain that your community will accept it, because obviously from their scale, it did not work. And it's a little bit different when your market cap is $100 million and you're increasing the supply by 33%. Essentially, you're stealing $33 million. People say you're essentially stealing $33 million from your community. I would say more is like you're giving yourself $33 million, right? For incentives or whatever the case is. But it's much different when you have a $100 million market cap or you're doing that at a $1 million market cap, right? So as the market cap is higher for these migrations, a lot more eyes, a lot more people impacted, and a lot more value that's either being destroyed or created.
So did they do that to give themselves like, company runway more, or is it more for like, because I know sometimes investors, like new investors, they want to have exposure to the token, and that's the first thing that came to my mind.
I mean, I empathize with the decision because it's something similar to what we did with Hustle, as well as a bunch of other founders that we've talked with in a similar situation. You launched your coin on a launch pad. You don't have any of the token treasury. You're not incentivized to integrate the token into any capacity because you don't hold any of the supply, but yet you're still getting all of the same negative timeline sentiment. You're getting the same pushback, right? Because it's your coin, but you don't own any of it, right? So you need to incentivize your team to participate and to integrate into tokenomics. I think the caveat here is they have made over $100 million in fees, or at least that's what's reported. So a lot of people would say you should just buy back the token on the market. Although taking $100 million and buying, even if you took 20% of that revenue and started to buy back, you'd probably only buy back 10% of the total supply, right? So you think they're thinking through it like, hey, we'll just increase the supply instead of putting the buyback. Although I think if they added a buyback mechanic to it initially, like this probably would have been a lot better situation. So I think they're kind of putting their hands in too many jars per se. Too many different options. They should have just stuck with one. This is why at Migrate Fund, we stick to the penalty and we do not recommend supply dilution. The one team who has done the supply dilution for us had to import their own contract. So they had to make a very conscious decision as well as technical development to do that. And so I empathize with it because I understand from a founder's perspective, you do need token treasury to continue to build. I think just the way they went about it is they did not put enough thought into the context of their own situation to see how people will react to it. And that is the most important thing when it comes to a migration, is the relationship between the founder and the team with the community. If your community is completely on board, like Project 89, they'll just accept the dilution and actually encourage it, right? If your team is on board with Hustle and Tensor and creating a migration platform and saying, hey, we're going to do 100% penalty, this is the first test run, the community is completely on board and you accept it, right? What they did, they obviously did not have these conversations with their community. And nobody loves a surprise migration. That's one thing I've learned. Nobody loves that stuff. And so you need proper communication. And when we talk with teams to come through Migrate Fund, we always recommend 2 to 4 weeks of prior communication of marketing, as well as 2 to 4 weeks of a migration period. The teams are it's up to them to choose whatever the final kind of date is, but this is generally what we recommend to all of our teams.
Wow, yeah, that's super interesting. So if I was a project out there and I came to you guys and I said, hey, you know, I got Trench Kitty and I want to add 30% of the supply to myself, what would you guys say to me in that instance?
I would say that I don't recommend it unless you've talked with your community about it. Ultimately, we're not going to discourage people to do whatever. This is still early and there's still a lot of experiments to be had. Like with these 15 teams who've migrated, we saw people experiment with 0% penalties, 100% penalties, 25%, 50 supply increases, retroactive rewards for people who've migrated. So we kind of have our own standard that we now recommend people that we think is kind of like the fairest way to go about it. Obviously, every situation's a little bit different. And yeah, we're kind of still working through all of it. The one thing that I did learn is that meme coin migrations and 100% penalties definitely does not work at all. We saw this happen with the Kitty migration where they did 100% penalty. It was a CTO takeover to migrate to the Bonk coin. But all those people who missed the migration to Kitty on Bonk, they just CTO'd the old coins at fuck it and applied for creator rewards on the old token and just kind of like booted out the old team. Ultimately, I think Kitty on Bonk's going to be fine, but it's one example of meme coins and 100% penalties not doing well. I think if you do a meme coin migration, you have to do 100% or you have to do no penalty or maybe a slight 10% penalty. But anything more than that, people, because it's a meme coin, there's no utility and stuff, people think a little bit less towards like giving the team large token treasuries to do marketing and all these different things. Whereas it's different when you're a utility project like us, right? Or like Project 89 or Zero Labs or whatever. These teams champion getting the team token supply, right? Because then you can do a lot more with that. And these teams have these communities have a lot longer term focus. And that's obviously what Believe's whole thing is, long-term focus, right? Believe in the coin. But the community is just completely rejecting the way that they've gone about it. Ultimately, I think they will end up being fine because their community is a lot of the younger generation who has a short attention span. And I think people really do like the mission and the statement, although you're seeing a lot of the older generation in cryptos start to reject them because of their quote unquote scammy type nature of what people are saying.
Yeah. I can see that actually, because it's almost kind of like they try to portray themselves as this like fully legit, almost kind of like Wall Street style or Silicon Valley style ICM, eco, but it's far from that. I'll tell you that. I've messed around over there. I'm not, digging at them or anything, but we just don't have that yet over here. But I want to ask you, about this migration market, because I feel like we're just getting started here. There's a lot of launch pads that have started off with horrible tokenomics with the way they launch, and I think there's going to be a certain crossroads to where there's going to be a new launch pad that says, hey, look, retail users, we're blocking bundlers, or we're doing this. And so I think migration is going to be needed for a long time. Do you see that? And are you seeing needs to kind of like migrate old contracts to new contracts and that kind of thing?
I think as long as Pump Fun and Meteora and Jupiter and then Radium and Bonk exist, there's always going to need migrations because there's going to be more tokens that are launched, which means more lock liquidity, which means more people need to graduate from training wheels to their own projects, or the social situation changes or whatnot. How large the market is actually a big question. Obviously, with Pump Fund, there's 3 million in Solana that's locked in the LPs, and then maybe 3.5 million across all the other launch pads. So that's a big market. You still have to spread the awareness of what a migration is. Obviously, what Believe is doing is going to put a pretty bad stain on.
Hold on real quick. Did you say 3 million? Is that right? I would think it'd be much larger number than that.
3 million Solana locked in pump pools.
Oh, 3 million Solana. Okay. I was going to say, I thought you meant $3 million. Okay.
Obviously what Pump is, or not Pump, obviously the Believe app situation, I think is going to put a pretty bad stain on migrations for a little while, but it's our job then to reshape the narrative to the way that we've gone about it with 15 successful migrations. Obviously we've had bumps in the road as well, but nothing that's too simple to, or too tough to overcome. For us now, it's we're going to have a second Bonk Fund Radium group. I think it's about 5 teams that we're going to announce here pretty shortly. And then we're going to do another group with a partner that we have yet to announce, hopefully in December, or hopefully in the end of November or middle of November, that is going to warrant a Migrate Fund V3 that we're currently building, which I think potentially works a little bit better with Launchpad migrations, which is something that seems to be of a lot more interest because these Launchpads continue to change their creator reward programs. They offer different types of incentives. So we're working through some of these conversations right now. In this group, there's 4 or 5 tokens that have over 1 million in their liquidity pools each. One of them has 4 million. So it'll be a pretty big group as long as we can nail this. And I think if this one works well with one of our partners, I think it's going to actually just continue to increase the narrative around migrations and continue to go. For us, we're looking at it individually as individual kind of as individual projects, really looking at it very similar to, I've said this before, really looking at it kind of like a real estate market. It's very commissions based. A lot of the migrations are, a 2 to 3 month kind of process that you have to walk through these conversations. And for us, we get a one-time payment. I think that's the best way to go about it. And our incentives are in line. So we're going to continue to grow it. It's definitely it's definitely right now much more popular than Hustle is from an attention standpoint and from a revenue standpoint. Hustle obviously though has a much higher upside, but it's going to take months to years for it to fully flesh out what its capabilities are, because the AI itself is still in its infancy. Whereas migrations is a little bit of a more mature market because we have a decade of experience in interoperability. And the team is very experienced in sales. And so we kind of know how to go about it. So that's why we're kind of leaning into it. And the demand is there. But how many projects will want to migrate? I think right now there's going to be 4 or 5 in this Bonk Fund Radium group. This other group, I think there's about 15 people or so. Once that partnership's announced or whatever it's labeled as, that'll attract a lot more people. And then eventually at some point, cross-chain migrations, I think will have a lot more interest. The demand on that is low, but I think there needs to be a few other winning L1s, whether it's Monad, Sui seems to be kind of like the leader, BNB, whatever. Base is probably the next one for migrations. And we're just going to continue to work at it slowly and surely. But yeah, I'm excited that we created this new market sector. It's why it makes me just extremely bullish on Hustle in general and our ecosystem, because we've yet again created a whole new sector, just like we did with Emblem Vault. We've created now a second market for migrations.
Yeah, and really incredible what you guys did. I mean, even if taking a look at the site here, I mean, obviously 14 are done. So it finished as of yesterday, or was it the day before, right? The day before?
Yesterday was the last one, yeah.
So yeah, so you guys did this, and I mean, it went pretty flawless in my opinion. I mean, so especially Zero with 95% of the supply.
It's crazy.
It's insane. Is there anything that you guys want to change from this to the next one? Is there anything you guys are thinking about doing differently?
Yeah, I think the site itself needs some improvements, which we're aware of. Bunzy's doing a good job fixing it. He's taking on a lot of work. We're actually building an SDK right now for the Mobi AI migration. They're going to host it from their own site, which we think then this makes it attractive to other platforms and teams who want to compete with us. They could just rather just use our technology, and there is no competition. We're all fully aligned. I think that's kind of inevitably what's going to happen. The site needs some improvements, but we have a baseline now. Obviously, we need to add statistics, changing the numbers to like a progression bar, a handful of other things that need to be made. We're aware of that, but the technology continues to change, right? It's like we're creating a V3 now, so you have to be able to add that into the front end. And we've had some friends give us some UI UX suggestions, which we will take into account and do when we do have time. It's unfortunate, like we only have, we have 5 devs. 2 of them are working on Migrate Fund, 2 of them are working on Agent Hustle, and Shannon's now working back on Emblem. So you can only go as fast as the resources that you have. But overall, very proud of what we've done. And there is a lot of upgrades that need to happen to the UX kind of experience. And then as well as on the back end from the team onboarding situation, we're going to add as well. So like the team dashboards that we have like a whole new dashboard that we've made. We just haven't been able to implement it yet because the demand has been so high and all these different edge cases that we're working through.
Yeah, man. So yeah, 100%. And recently we seen the great Shannon Code actually do an interview, which was phenomenal, by the way. His backstory of being in kind of the security field and looking for a job. He found the meme coin, and then he actually went and started looking in the sector. He found Mastercoin. He got a job with them right away. 2 weeks after Vitalik quit there, which is pretty insane to me. So I think everyone really on the timeline anyway, especially in the comments and stuff, that seem to be really excited him to be kind of front facing now. So that's actually really huge for you guys, in my opinion.
Yeah, so he went on for Lit. So Lit is doing their TGE in a few weeks through Aerodrome. Emblem and Genius Terminal are the 2 biggest users of Lit protocol. So we've been heavily involved with them. And it's good to see Shannon go on. Our goal has always been to transition him to more of a CTO role. Now that the Agent Hustle development team is pretty autonomous, it doesn't need as much oversight. And the Migrate Fund team as well is pretty autonomous. Obviously, I still have to manage it from a I guess you'd say like a project manager standpoint. But Shannon doesn't have to basically handhold it anymore, which is nice. So it allows us to move him to Emblem, which he's working on Emblem stuff right now, smart vaults and some of this stuff. But eventually the goal would be next year is to move him to CTO role so he could do a lot more of these interviews. He could be a little bit more hands-on with the development. And then it pulls me back so that I can then go and travel and do conferences and different things like that and be a little bit more of a front-facing. The last 2 years, I've basically had to learn development from scratch, right? From basically no knowledge to literally managing products and developments with no experience. So it's been a good lesson for me as a CEO. But there is a time where I need to be less hands-on with the operations and more front-facing and doing these kind of like meeting with VCs and meeting with holders and projects and doing all this stuff. So we're trying to make that transition without having an excess of capital from raising, right? You have to do this in a very strategic kind of manner. But Shannon deserves to be, front and center. He built this thing basically over 10 years ago, which is kind of crazy. And he's been in the space and he deserves it. And he'll be moving more towards, like innovation development type stuff, less to like day-to-day operations. And once we can make that transition, maybe in Q1 next year, once like all the keys and COVOL and all that stuff is settled and everything's fully aligned, you'll see some big upgrades.
Is that scary for you as a CEO, for him to be kind of like handing off Agent Hustle, or are you guys that confident in the team you guys have?
Yeah, we have a pretty solid team on the Agent Hustle side and the Migrate Fund team. Yeah, I guess like it's passing off power, right? I think Shannon will do a very good job at being a CTO role. I think he deserves it after doing 10 years of straight operational development. It's much different than managing the teams. And man, once you're in it for a long time, like you deserve to have, some time to sit and think and not be at the computer all day. And when Shannon has been best, and it's been best for the company when he's able to be free and creative. That's how Agent Hustle was born. Surprisingly, Migrate Fund has been built without Shannon. So that was our first product without Shannon, but obviously with the brains and capacity of everyone on the team. And the next creative outlet would be obviously merging all of these products together at some point in time, right? Maybe late second half of next year, when we have another app for the NFT side of things that we're going to release. But then, taking Emblem, taking Migrate Fund, taking Agent Hustle, figuring out how to put that all into one singular product with one singular token, I think is going to be the next big mission once operations are really settled. And I think it makes it a little bit more sense for everyone. There's always something to chase around. I saw like a bunch of people complaining about, oh, it's too confusing. There's all these apps. There's one token. They're all different names, whatever, which I totally agree with, but all taken kind of just one day at a time.
Yeah. I think once you guys get to that level to where you can perform more like the C-suite style, man, I think a lot of people might be a little bit too late to getting into Hustle or whatever, but that's where you guys are going to, in my opinion, you're going to be, shooting off, because you become more of like each department, each C-suite person has like the face of that part of Hustle, right? And obviously CEO would be the main one, but you can network more too, and the managed investors and stuff like that. So I'm excited for y'all.
Yeah, me too, man. I think like once we can expand, we have a way to set it up. I think Chris will probably be taking over Emblem and this other app as kind of the operational guy. And then Adam's been doing really well with Migrate Fund, as well as myself and Hustle. And so would love to hand off responsibilities. It'd be probably good for my mental health and stability as well. But we're just not quite there yet. I knew this quarter would be probably the toughest quarter because of the transition from Keys and Koval and Fuel to merging it all with Hustle, as well as all the product developments and partnerships and stuff like that. So it's been a lot to balance, but we're getting near the end. Obviously, the market crash doesn't really help, but it's nothing new. It's something that we've kind of always expected to be, and we're just going to continue to move forward. I think Hustle's at like $6 million market cap or something. It's taken a bit of a dive, but still holding up pretty well. I mean, at the end of the day, it's up still 10x than it was 4 months ago. I know that's hard for some people to believe, but when you're buying coins that are under $1 million, there's a reason why. I mean, you have to be in it for literally years. Like, you got to be committed to that. There is no free lunch in investing. And if you think you're going to buy something and it's going to go up 1 million X in a year, like, I'm sorry to tell you, that's generally not the case. You could get lucky every so often, but I mean, you look at the history of coins that have launched on Pump Fund in a complete free and fair distribution. How many of them are currently sitting over $1 billion? None, right? So we're basically fighting against all odds. You're picking a needle in a haystack for that one change. We believe, obviously, we can do that because we have the experience in the team. Obviously, lack the resources, but are working on that. And we'll continue to grow. There's a lot of different catalysts. Maybe I'll leave it off here. Agent Hustle is expanding to EVM. It'll be ETH plus our partner. I saw today we finally got the APIs provided to finish this lift is what we were waiting on. And then from there, expand to Polygon for Polymarket, Base, obviously, Avalanche, whatever other kind of things or other chains that are of interest at the time. With Migrate Fund, we have this next group that's going to be launching here in the next few weeks, and then a new partner with new migrations there. I think a lot of people will be really excited about that one. And then with Emblem, we have Shannon's building smart vaults. because we're going to be building a fungible token bridge for Hustle, take Hustle to different chains. It was something we've been wanting to do, potentially another business line. The token strat or the NFT strategy things. A lot of people have reached out to us to work with the token work guys to do cross-chain NFT strategies, which we are going to do, it seems like. I think the Nakamoto card with Rare Pepe is going to be the first one. There's a handful of ordinal collections that have reached out who want to do this. I think like the Node Monkeys one on Bitcoin is interesting, but I think it's missed the boat on some parts. And so I think at some point people will realize that I won't say in order to save ordinals, but in order to inject new interest and liquidity, if you just literally vault your collections on ETH, you will probably have 10 times more volume 6 months from now because all of the NFT volume is on Ethereum mainnet. Like I know there's tribalism and stuff, and eventually the market will come to accept it. But if you vault, let's say, 10% of the Taproot Wizards collection on ETH, Taproot Wizards are now in the OpenSea, farming system. You're in all these different farming things. People are buying it because you could do resting bids. It's the same wallet, etc. So whenever the market really comes around to that, then Emblem will probably have its next explosion, whether it's the strategy catalyst, whether it's smart vaults, whether it's, whatever partnerships that we have next, chain expansions, etc. But Emblem is definitely by far the biggest product of all three. But I think figuring out how to merge all of these together will probably be something that we will work through next year.
Yeah, man. Awesome. Right. So, I mean, you guys have a lot going on here. I guess you did say, potentially you guys are launching, this EVM stuff. Is this in November? You said it's going to be October.
I mean, the goal is now, honestly. So,
yeah,
it just takes, it's on the development or the pace of development.
Yeah.
ETH mainnet stuff is pretty much done. They're working on
Wow.
the partnerships. It's it's a good foundation. We'll see where the volume actually is, but for us, it's more of a long-term outlook. You get these two down, then it sets us up to pretty much support everything else, and creates a foundation for it. Like right now, Hustle's best product is token discovery.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to be a big thing on ETH mainnet, and maybe it helps the other one. But we are going to take some shots on supporting some smaller chain ecosystems with this idea of growth and expansion in mind. Like Hustle subscriptions have really tailed off and new users. And maybe it's just because like there's less people on chain right now because the market's down, but also we need to expand our product line. And each ecosystem has different types of priority products, right? Like the people who are using Hustle when we have Polygon and Polymarket is probably going to be a little bit different than the people using Hustle for Solana for token trading versus the people who are using Hustle for one of our partners to help improve just the overall trading experience of that chain in general. So a lot of exploratory ahead, but yeah, could have never been as bullish. We're in the Emblem's in the best position now that it's ever been.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Jake, man. Really appreciate your time, dude.
Yeah, guys, dude, enjoyed the weekend. Hang in there. Try not to get bored, and don't become macro investors 3 months from now just because that's all you have something to talk about. So until then, have a good weekend, guys.
You too, man.
See you, Jake. Yeah, man. Absolutely awesome. As always, every single Friday, we are joined by somebody from the Emma Vault, Migrate.Fun, and Agent Hustle team. So absolutely amazing to talk to these guys. But what a week, man. Just recapping the week real quick. It wasn't great. Monday was very bullish. I mean, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, or some of the worst days in crypto, it feels like. And I've probably said this before, but if you guys are still here every single day, man, just really appreciate you really grinding it out with us because we're not stopping. And we don't want you guys to do it either.
Yeah, exactly. We'll have two people watching and we'll still be here. But well, yeah. Today definitely Jake was right. Just there's not a lot of presence on crypto Twitter or there's I think people are just kind of look, it's Friday. Maybe people are going to play golf, maybe people are going some out of town or whatever. So look, we appreciate each and every one of you guys. Without y'all, we wouldn't be able to do this, and we are very appreciative for that. But also, without our partners, we couldn't do it. So if you guys could check them out for us, we would greatly appreciate that. Sats Terminal is the DEX aggregator swap for the entire Bitcoin ecosystem. If you're looking to swap for Bitcoin runes, alkanes, and now Spark tokens, you got to use Sats Terminal because they aggregate from all of these resources, right? Especially with the Spark meta that's coming up with these multiple launch pads, meme launch pads. You want to be able to do it all in one place. And once they bond, you're going to be able to swap them directly here at satsterminal.com. And on top of that, you earn Amber points, and Amber points are going to go towards a give back for early adopters. So earn those Amber points. If you connect your wallet for the very first time to satsterminal.com, you actually get a bonus of Amber points. So take advantage of that. Also, they have an amazing Bitcoin lending product. If you can borrow against your Bitcoin, you don't have to sell it. You know, that's the whole idea. You don't want to sell it, especially whenever it's cheaper, I should say, than it has been. You take out some stables against it. You can buy more Bitcoin whenever it's, going down a bit, because we all know where Bitcoin is headed. But yeah, you can try it out. They're partners with two of the largest providers in Morpho and Aave in the space. Head over to satsterminal.com today. And then Emblem Vault is the interoperability tooling of the Bitcoin ecosystem. If you're looking to jump your Bitcoin ordinals or Bitcoin NFTs like Rare Pepes over to Ethereum, you got to use Emblem Vault. They've been doing this for a long time, so they are experts on this. In fact, they have helped people bridge or jump, I should say, their Taproot wizards over to Ethereum to take loans out against them on the Gandhi application, which is the largest borrowing and lending NFT application on Ethereum. And so you got to use Emblem Vault to do it. And they're going to be opening up to other EVM chains as well. And SVM is on there as well, Solana. And speaking of Solana, they have the best AI product in the entire Solana ecosystem with agenthustle.ai. If you go to agenthustle.ai, you can actually sign up with the free subscription there and ask basic questions like, find me a couple 2 to 5x plays, and Hustle will bring back some options for you and why he thinks these are solid options. There's also a conditional trading engine built directly in Hustle. So you can say, hey, Hustle, buy Fartcoin when it pulls back 30%, sell it when I'm up 120%. And he'll take care of that once those targets are hit. And there's different levels of subscription. I mentioned the free one. It is limited to the tool sets, right? So you get limited tool sets with that one. If you want the most advantaged the most advanced tool sets, you can get a higher subscription. You can use the Hustle token to get a discount in it. And speaking of the Hustle token, it's the single token that powers the entire Emblem ecosystem there. So make sure you check it out. They do have that free subscription level there. Also, there is another product within the ecosystem called migrate.fun. And if you launched a token and you have a community on Solana, you launched on Pump Fund or Bonk, and you want to migrate to the opposite launchpad, or you just want to, manage your own LPs, you can do so through migrate.fun. They finished their first cohort of, I think it was 14 different teams, highly successful. Very smooth event that they went through, but they're going to be preparing for that second cohort right now. I think they already got a good number, so you can try to squeeze in there if you reach out to the team, but you might have to wait till the next cohort. But you can get all the information on how to get started for that first step, right? So head over to migrate.fun to learn more there, and head over to emblem.vision to learn about all the products I just broke down for you guys. And then Artura.finance is the perps and leverage DEX of the Bitcoin ecosystem. And I think they're going to go into another large ecosystem very soon, but they are going to announce that. So make sure you're following them on their X account. You can trade perps here, obviously, and then they have ways to earn passively through their vaults as well. The trading competition ended yesterday, and so congrats to the winners over there. And then make sure that you guys check out Tuesday's Trader's Edge episode at 2 p.m. Eastern. Will be helping co-host that show as well. Head over to Artura.finance to learn more there. And lastly, but not least, Merlin Chain is uniting Bitcoin's strength through the power of AI. They have their Wizard version 2.0 that can help guide you through the Merlin Chain ecosystem. It can help you do DeFi functionalities like staking and swapping, but it also can help you swap cross-chain, which is amazing. So you can, as long as you have some Merlin Bitcoin in your wallet, you can actually swap for Solana tokens and BNB tokens as well. And so check that out. you know, use the tool and let us know your feedback there. But going back to the DeFi stuff, speaking of staking, they actually have a proof of stake security model on merlinchain.io. So if you go to the staking option there, there's 3 ways to participate. You can stake Bitcoin to earn more Bitcoin. The first staking vault ended September 30th, and they got around 17% APR for their stakers there. So it's amazing APR for staking Bitcoin, and they give you Bitcoin as reward. So the second staking vault is open now. They are shooting for that range between 8 and 21%. So they're always trying to get you the highest, guys. You know, they do their best with that. So check it out. I think it's going to go till the beginning of January. So it is a 3-month period, but there's going to be a max out of participants. I think it might be 150, but you can see they already have, I think, 125 around there. But yeah, check that out if you're interested. They got institutions interested as well. $55 million of investment on that side. But then there's 2 ways for you to stake your Merlin chain tokens as well. The flexible, which is a day-to-day. You earn 15% APR. You can withdraw your tokens anytime you want. There is a 7-day cooldown period to where you'll get your tokens back after you initiate the withdrawal. But you can claim your rewards daily while they are staked, and you can do a compound interest staking strategy with that. And the last option is that bonded option, which is a 45% APR. It's a 6-month lockup, guys, but you earn 45% APR, and you can actually claim those rewards daily as well. So check out everything I just broke down for you guys at merlinchain.io. Make sure you're following them on X as well, so you can get the latest and greatest updates directly from the team. And we thank you guys so much for checking out our partners.
Yep. Great job, man. As always, if you guys have a few more minutes and wouldn't mind checking out onchainrevolution.io, some of the best articles dating all the way back to 2023. If you know someone just entering the space, please send them our website. We really feel like it can help them get started and code up to where we are today. Brand new article just dropped called Hot Crypto Airdrops and Token Claims. Check this article out. You guys can really get a heads up on what is happening with the airdrop ecosystem. And on top of that, we got BNB articles and other stuff as well, which Bitcoin L2 scaling protocols will dominate. Pretty amazing stuff here. So definitely want to check these out. They're 3 to 4 minute reads. You don't want to miss them. And if you guys need a VPN to use something like, what's it called? Hyperliquid or MEXC, we have, exactly the thing for you right here. So for $2.99 a month, so you can lock it in for about 27 months for $66. You can't beat this, guys. If you go to NordVPN, you're going to be paying the $11. Don't go there. Make sure you guys are clicking our link to get this cheap, get this in there. You guys are set for 2 years. Set it, forget it, be done with it. And no one's stopping you. Like yesterday, I was helping a family member of mine convert some Bitcoin into some degen assets, and I used MEXC because it was just so much cheaper than Coinbase. If you're sending assets to Coinbase and swapping them there, let's say going from Bitcoin to Ethereum, you are losing a lot of money. I think, we did a big sum of money and we barely lost, I think, less than 1%, like 0.5%. On the bridge in, the swap, and the bridge out. But make sure you treat these things like public restrooms. Get in, do your business, get out. And that's kind of what I always do with MEXC and Hyperliquid as well. Hyperliquid obviously is decentralized, so that's a little bit better if you want to hold stuff there. But highly recommend getting VPN so you're able to use stuff like that. And on top of that, we have some of the best merch in all of crypto: hats, shirts, jacket, and much, much more. Check everything out here at onchainrevolution.io. And guys, remember, we are live Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Pacific, and 3 p.m. UTC. Check us out all week, guys. Until tomorrow.
Peace. OnChain revolution, roll call. Market recap. You're not bullish enough, no. You're not bullish enough, no. Look at the price go. Bitcoin control. Why you still coping? Price action rolling. Don't fall for bear trap. Swapping indexes and putting it up in the sex. I can take profit right now. OnChain is where I be now. You can never look back. They don't want you to know. How did the market react? Fear and greed, gotta adapt. Now we bridging the tokens and marching the network right now. You know how crazy we are. Nookies are savages now. They know how crazy we are. Chain abstraction, main attraction. on-chain revolution.